All right, we are live. Very good. We got to do our pokey dance.
All right, we are live. This is our live dance.
Very, very good. Very good. Welcome, everyone. We're excited to have you guys here doing a live. We're doing a little bit different today. We're going live on YouTube. Usually we go live in our Puppy Training with Michele Lennon Facebook group. So we thought we'd try something just a little bit different today. So you guys just let us know, where are you guys watching from? Where in the world are you?
Michele, where are you?
What's that?
Where are you?
I am in Western New York. You know, when you say New York, you have to be very specific, right? So I'm about an hour away from Niagara Falls. How about you?
Right. I am in Arizona.
Woo.
We are just wrapping up our stormy season, and my pup Lincoln was unimpressed with last night's storm. Let me just tell you that.
Yeah, you guys have been getting some weird weather this year. Yeah. Some wind and some extra rain, things like that. So,
and you know, we're going to talk a little bit about how weather impacts potty training, because I definitely see it, and I have to be a little bit more attentive, even though Lincoln is almost 3. Have to be a little more attentive when that weather changes, because he is impacted by that and maybe not so keen on going outside. So you gotta keep your eyes on the prize.
Right. Yeah, you gotta pay attention to what's going on. Oh, we've got a lot of people. We've got British Columbia, Toledo,
couple people from Canada. Nice.
San Francisco. Oh, it's really early in San Francisco, right? All right. Well, very good. Today's hot topic is all about potty training and troubleshooting. So if you guys are struggling with some potty training with your brand new puppy, definitely stay tuned. We've got a lot of information for you here. I think too, we'll be able to have some time to take a few questions at the end. Mm-hmm. So that'll be good for you guys that, you know, maybe you have some additional things related to potty training that you're like, Michele, Allison, you didn't answer it. I need help.
Now what do we do?
We're here for you. We're here for you. All right. Let's see here. Let's get the party started. Let me switch over. Go to our presentation mode. That's right, people. We've got a little presentation for you all about potty training. I think the very first thing we probably have going on really is, let's just make sure everybody gets a warm welcome and an invite. If they haven't joined our Puppy Training with Michele Lennon Facebook group, we encourage you to do so. It's a really awesome Facebook group where we talk about all puppy things, all the potty training, crate training, jumping, nipping, barking, biting stuff that goes on in there as well. The cool thing about our group is it is a little bit different than some other ones. We have professionals manning it 6 days a week, and you will always find some amazing resources shared in there as well. So I think that if you haven't joined it, you are missing out. We do a lot of fun things and talk about a lot of really important topics in there.
This is such a benefit that I think people don't always realize until they get in there, and then they start seeing it. And I have often wished that other groups about other topics that I'm interested in would have, like, can you give me the one answer from the person who kind of knows more? And then it's great to hear from other people who are having similar experiences, but I still am looking for that one answer of somebody who has a little more knowledge on the topic. And that's what we offer in this group. We can point you to a resource that we've got that talks more about it. We can give you some ideas on what might be happening if you're struggling with something. And you can just guarantee that the advice is based on experience and research and science and all the things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. If you are in that group, or if you're joining the group when you finally do get in there, our responses are always the first comment. So from the team, you'll know that those ones are not that we don't love all the other answers. Those, you know, answers from the hive are really important too. Lots of helpful tips from other people. But if you are looking for that information from one of our team members, that'll be the first comment under a post. All right, let's hop in. Let's talk about it. So potty training. How many of you guys are working on potty training with your puppy? Or maybe you're still seeing some accidents? Go ahead and let me know in the comments. How many of you guys are working?
I think Blessed with Pets here is in the right place. She says, got a new puppy, struggling with potty training.
Awesome. You are in the right place. Welcome, welcome. All right. So here's the deal, guys. Very first thing. Your puppy doesn't really know that you want them to go potty outside just yet when you first bring them home. So we kind of have this confused pup as to where you want them to go, because they'll go anywhere, right? They're most often preferring soft or squishier surfaces. So if that means your kitchen rug, to them, it's kind of fair game in the beginning until you teach them. And usually, because the puppy's a little confused as to where to go, we have a frustrated human because you're probably cleaning up lots and lots of accidents, right? How many of you guys have, in the last 24 hours, cleaned up at least one potty accident?
Not me. Not me.
That's right. Lincoln, your pup's a little bit older. We just had a foster over recently. And even with the foster and even with the trainer right here, I still was cleaning up a couple accidents here and there. And we were learning her schedule, which we're going to talk about. We were doing all the things, but there are going to be accidents. That's just it. We have to make sure we chalk it up to an oops. It's not something that your dog does on purpose. I promise you. I think we even talk a little bit more about that as we go through. So let's
Michele,
talk about
I was potty training Lincoln kind of right at that spring 2020. And if you remember what was going on in the stores, we were having a hard time getting paper towels, and it was a difficult time to be potty training because we needed a lot of paper towels. Oh, yeah. So for me, it was kind of an increased stress of I need to get this figured out with this pup because we're running out of supplies.
For sure. Well, anybody who is in that same position where you are still cleaning up accidents, hang tight. We're going to talk about what to do. We are going to actually go through the 4 fundamentals of potty training here. So we have the reward, restrict, clean, and routine. If you can memorize these, and there's a kind of a little jingle that goes along with them, you can sing it to yourself. I don't want to scare you away by singing. You would cry. I can't carry a tune in a basket. But reward, restrict, clean, and routine is the name of the game. We're going to go through each of these and how they're going to help you with your progress in the potty training department for your pup.
I also just want to mention, I see a couple of questions coming in. Love that. We will definitely get to those. So feel free to keep popping questions in the chat. We're going to kind of pop back and forth between, our lesson here and then answering a few questions. Some of them are probably going to be answered in our presentation, but I see them coming in and we're going to get to you.
Awesome. All right, very first thing, we want to talk about that reward. So there's a little bit of a misunderstanding sometimes when it comes to the rewarding part of the training process. We're seeing a lot of people rewarding the pup a little too late, or even when they've come back inside. So the puppy's gone potty outside, you come back inside, and then you're rewarding the dog thinking that's the right place, right? The sequence is complete. Well, unfortunately, we're actually probably marking other behaviors that they're great, but they don't relate to the potty training. So it's really important that when you're rewarding consistently. We should still be continually reinforcing good behaviors or behaviors we want to see more of in the right spot. So it's important that you're going to be reinforcing or rewarding your puppy for going potty outside, just barely after they finish, right? You want to catch them right after they finish going and give them that treat there as well, even at night. So if your puppy's still needing to go out in the middle of the night, even a piece of kibble will do, or even just a half a piece of a training treat, something with a little bit more value. You're probably also using a marker word. So our marker word is yes. That's the one that lets our dog know they did the right thing. And that word is used across the board for all the behaviors that we want to see more of. So sitting down, coming and called, in this case, potty as well. So as soon as they finish going, it's yes. And then you're giving them that treat immediately, right in that same spot that they're going. So you kind of have to, you have to pay attention to them so that you can really see what they did and when it happened. I know with our little pups, it's kind of hard, right? You're like, did they go? How do I know? They look so low to the ground. You can tell by the way they stand. So watch if the tail curves up just a little bit. Watch if they have a little bit more, they stop, they have a little bit more of a rigid stance. Sometimes they look a little longer, a little more sprawled in their stance. That's another good way to know. Of course, checking, did the grass get wet? The poos are easy to see, right? Those ones are super easy. Allison, do you want to talk about our hashtag 50 kibble challenge and how that could be something to what we do with it?
I love that. The 50 kibble challenge is something that I continue to participate in. And that is really just rewarding our dogs when they do things that we love. And one easy way to do this is to have little treat pouches, jars, bowls, all around the house in different spots so that when you see a behavior that you really like, you reward it. And we, in this household, have a little treat jar near the potty door so we can grab one when we go out, near the front door so we can reward for, being calm when I'm getting a package from Chewy. In my office, when I'm hoping Lincoln will be quiet while I'm on a live upstairs. So, we just kind of plan for, hey, we want to reward Lincoln for the things that he does that we like. So not just the things that we're teaching him, but just in general. Oh, look, he sat nicely instead of jumping on me. He went into his crate. So this is something we can do just with kibble that you would normally use as part of their meal, but you just kind of pull it out of their meal and just have it around the house. It's really a nice way to do it. Pro tip, it works with teenagers too, just not with dog kibble. We all like to hear positive reinforcement. We like to hear things that we're doing well. Can you imagine if your partner or your kids were like, Mom, the white load, great job on that one. Matching all those socks. Hey, those dishes look great. You're like, I am in for this. I love it.
Instead of the grumpy teenager stuff, if anybody has a teenager, they know. Right. You know what we're talking about. The cool thing with what we did in our pro level Facebook group with our students enrolled in 30 Days to Puppy Perfection is we challenged them to set aside those 50 pieces, like Allison said, and use them. And the cool thing is that if you don't happen to have your treat pouch on you, but you have your kibble set aside as you're heading out the door to take your puppy to go potty, you're just going to grab a couple pieces and head out there. Then you have them available.
Right.
All right. The next thing that we want to talk about here on our 4 fundamentals is the restrict part. This one is one that I think might get overlooked. It's really common to bring home a brand new puppy and be so excited to show them your entire home, right? You're like, look at your new pad. Isn't this awesome? This is great. This is where you're going to be living forever. We want to show you everything. We want to show you how spoiled you're going to be. How many of you guys spoil your puppies? I know I do. But here's the deal. When we bring a brand new puppy home, we do want to restrict access to a smaller space, whether that's a gated off area or a puppy pen, because the more space they have access to, the more sniffing they're going to do, the more their system's going to process, and the more accidents they're going to have. There is a balance though, right? We don't want to just keep our puppies confined all the time. We do want to show them other rooms of the house. We have to do it a little bit more systematically though. Taking them out before we go in there, keeping them on leash, maybe only giving 5 to 10 minutes of a new room at a time. But when we want to work on decreasing the accidents, we're going to restrict space to, like I said, to a puppy pen or even a gated off room. Did you do that with Lincoln, Allison?
I did all of those things. I gave him way too much room at the beginning. Now we had tile floors downstairs, which is where he had access to. So it was a little easier for us to clean up accidents, but that we really saw that he was kind of gravitating to like the kitchen rug or the rug near the front door where we leave the shoes. And so we realized that he just had too much space, which also means not quite as much supervision. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of started to block that a little bit more and have him more kind of in that kitchen area. And we also pulled up the kitchen rug, so he didn't have access to that. And so that really helped. It really helped us keep an eye on him. And then it helped him from going in those same places that he would naturally start to go.
Yeah. We always say you're probably going to have to pull a few things up, like the rugs or gate off areas that you wouldn't normally gate off. And this for most is temporary, right? This is, it's not, I know sometimes people are like, oh, it's an eyesore. Oh, the kitchen rug isn't under the sink or by the front door anymore. And we're like, it's temporary until your pup knows, what you want them to do, which is go outside. And we are, by the way, if any of you guys are apartment dwellers, you live in an apartment, we're going to talk about what to do when we get to that slide as well. So hang tight.
I will tell you that Lincoln is 3 and we do have kitchen rugs down safely.
Yep, for sure. Okay, what about the tether technique? This is another technique that we use. So when we're talking about restricting access, this is kind of one of those things where we say, all right, you took your puppy outside to go potty, you didn't see any action. So when they came back inside, we're not going to give them free roam especially if you really think they need to go. So we're either going to put them in the crate. We're not punishing them, right? We're not making it a negative experience whatsoever, but we're just going to give them about 5 to 10 minutes in there, or this tether technique, which really just means the leash is attached and you are holding onto it so that they don't sneak off and have an accident somewhere. This also gives you an opportunity to really hone in on the body language they're giving off when they're trying to go to when they're ready to go. So whether it's circling, whether it is sniffing, whether it's, you could feel they're trying to pull away to go do something else, you'll know, oh, okay, maybe it is time. Maybe it's time to go out. So keeping them attached to you means you are going to be a little bit more focused on what they're doing, and they won't have an opportunity to have an accident.
I really want to reemphasize what you said about when they come back in, if they haven't gone, you can use the crate as an option. But again, we're not looking at punishment. It's not a timeout. It's not a, you're not a good dog for going. If you don't have to go, you don't have to go. It is really to prevent an accident, because based on the schedule, you're like, I think he needs to go. And it's really about the human being a little bit more attentive. If you can be really attentive, maybe this is a time when you're really like sitting with them in that, puppy proofed area. That's great. If you're going to be a little distracted, then the tether technique, or definitely the crate, is going to help you watch for signals and then help prevent an accident, because that is the number one goal here, is preventing an accident. And that is the human's job.
Yeah. Getting ahead of it and then taking them out proactively instead of reactively, where they already had the accident and you're like, oh, I missed it. So getting them out there, sooner rather than later. And I know it's difficult because you're like, how do I know when they need to go out? I always recommend, we're going to talk about this a little later too, but I'll give you a little sneak peek. Definitely write it down. Keep track of what's happening and when, like, you're taking them out. Did they do anything? Oh, we had an accident. It was at this time. Because you really will start to see a pattern to their bathroom habits, which is going to be helpful for you to then get them out proactively before accidents happen. So yes, of course, there's some variables. Yes, of course, it's still, it's not foolproof, but it's definitely helpful to see that pattern in their bathroom habits.
Let me ask our viewers here, are you guys keeping track? Are you got some kind of schedule you got going on? How do you do it? Do you write it down? Oh, we've got somebody here. Shuey's here. Write it down. How do you do that? Put that in the chat. Let us know how you're doing it. We can get some good tips from you. I'm going to go do it.
We just had Kathy, a pro level student, submit the most phenomenal tracker. We have a tracker inside our pro level workbook, and then there's a sample schedule that people use often in our new puppy starter kit, which we'll talk about too. But she submitted one that had all sorts of categories in it, between the potty, the poo, the pee, the rest, the sleep, the exercise and play, enrichment, that kind of stuff. That was really cool. Like Allison said, how many of you guys, or what are you using? Let us know in the comments. What are you guys using to keep track of things? Is it just a notebook? Are you using an app? What's going on?
We had a family group chat that was just for that. You have family group chats. You have a group chat with your kids or whatever. And it was called Lincoln's Potty Log. And it was simply for, when did he go? And we would just put in the emojis, the little water emoji or the little poo emoji. And, it gives an automatic timestamp. So at any time, if we were kind of having a transfer of who was kind of watching over him, you could be like, oh, how long's it been? Okay, good to know. That's great.
I love it. Oh, awesome, guys. Look at this. All right. Belle's got the printed out tracker. Very nice. I like this one. Blessed with Pets says, I use my brain. I should probably use something else. Okay. Can I just share this little tidbit, this little trivia that I learned? The brain is not very good at keeping those details. The brain is like, we don't need to know that. Like, the brain just thinks that's not important. Why would we possibly need to know that? And so it just kind of like pushes it back to that gray matter in the back. It holds on to important things like how to walk and how to eat and what do these things mean? So I read this, that things like that, like little tiny details like that, it's so important to write it down, because your brain will trick you and not remember for you. Yeah.
You mentioned that, Michele, when you were fostering Feta.
Yeah, we had multiple family members helping, right? Taking her out, keeping her on a good schedule. And a few times we forgot to write down what happened. And so then it was like, should we be staying out here a little longer? Does she need to poo? Did she already poo? we found ourselves going back on the security cameras and checking to see who went out and what happened. So it would have been helpful if we had written it down. And it just happened just a couple times, a small handful of times in the time that she was here. But yeah, it is super important to keep note of that. I like what Peg said about that too, though. So even though Bitsy's 2 years old, she still keeps the log because that can help with potential identifying some potential health problems. So you can even note, like, was the stool looser? Did your puppy eat something earlier in the day? Or are you finding chunks of toy in there that you're like, oh, okay, we got to go find that toy and take it away. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I actually am not as good at keeping a log anymore because Lincoln's quite a bit older, but I'm pretty much primarily on duty with him. But when we have storms like we did yesterday, or we have kind of some weather issues, that's when we definitely all start to tune in to when did he go last, because his schedule gets a little bit off. I try to get him out proactively before the big storm comes. That means he might have to go at a different time than usual. So, it does come down to tracking it when it's outside of the norm after they get older.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about, so we have some accidents. What should we do about it? What do we clean up with? This is a common question because a lot of people use a lot of different things, and some of those things are not so good to use. Ideally, we want to use some sort of enzymatic cleaner. A Nature's Miracle type product would be great. That's a really good one. It has an enzyme in it which breaks down the ammonia which is in your dog's urine. We try to avoid, or we recommend you avoid using any other types of products. I had one client, she was using like Windex, an ammonia-based product. That's not going to break down the ammonia that's in your dog's urine. Any other cleaners are really just going to mask the smell for you, and your dog, who has a keener sense of smell, 40 times stronger than ours, might still be able to smell themselves. Here's the deal with using a cleaner like this. I always joke that this is a very misleading bottle that it comes in. So your puppy has an accident. They have it on the carpet. It's now in the carpet that has spread a little bit here. It's gone to the padding under your carpet, and it's gone to the subfloor, which is either cement or wood or some other material. In order for this product to work, you're going to want to soak up as much as you can of the accident and saturate this area, not just give it a spritz on the top. So I would say if you're using, if it's on the carpet, please saturate the area really well. Leave it there for about 5 to 10 minutes to really neutralize that urine, and then soak it back up. So it's kind of a multi-step process when you're using an enzymatic cleaner to clean up accidents. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have our team share share a link with you guys in the comments. Just to know which product we recommend. We've had other people mention like a white vinegar. Simple Solution is another one. I would be cautious of using those ones that are coming from carpet companies unless they say they have an enzymatic cleaner in them. Unfortunately, I don't want to name names, but you can probably, they're very popular on the market. They say they're for pet cleanup, but then they don't have anything in them that's going to break down the ammonia that's in urine. So I would be cautious of that.
I like this comment from Belle. I've already gotten this product. And anticipation of my new puppy. It's like I'm awaiting the arrival of a new baby. Yes, yes, you are. That's amazing. I love that you're doing this research ahead of time. This is fabulous.
Awesome. Way to go. Way to go. Let's see. One other thing too, if your puppy is having an accident on wood or tile that has grout that isn't sealed, remember those materials are in some fashion a little porous and absorbent. So the cracks in a nice wood floor, where the boards meet together, really soak that area up so that it's already seeped down in between those cracks. Same thing with that grout. It's very porous. Cement. This is why we discourage puppies going on like cement patios and things like that. It's very porous. It seeps in there, and the sun starts beating on that. It is going to smell. So if you can, this is where, going and taking them out to a grassy area, or even getting a fresh patch, which we're going to talk about, product might be helpful. But caution you on letting them go on your cement.
Mm-hmm. Let's just take this question from Leah. I think this is what you were mentioning about a carpet cleaner, like a Bissell machine with Nature's Miracle.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I like that because it's one way to soak up the initial accident, and then you can saturate the area, and then you can soak it up again. So it also has that little Bissell machine has the little, agitator bristles that can really clean up the carpet. So I would think that would be good. What I would do though is I'd soak it up first with the machine and put the Nature's Miracle over the top of it, let it sit there for 5 to 10 minutes, and then soak it back up again.
Mm-hmm. I also really feel like this piece here about block off access is really important, because we found that with Lincoln that he did start to go. There was a certain area upstairs once we'd given him a little bit more freedom that I'm not sure why that particular area, but we did see that was now becoming somewhat of a target for potty accidents. And so we ended up blocking off the stairs entirely, because I just didn't want him to keep going in that area. And as much as I tried to clean it up, that nose, he just, whether it was he could smell it or that was just his preference, but we needed to block it off because I just didn't want him to have an accident over and over again.
Yeah. If your dog keeps going in the same spot, that like Allison said, blocking it off, really, you might even have to have a professional carpet cleaning service come in. If the dog is gone that much, pee doesn't just go bloop and stay in one spot. It spreads, right? So it might be that the dog has now started going in and around that area. If you ever are curious, if you're ever like, I wonder if we're having accident issues here. Might surprise some of you, but go get a black light and go around your home. You might be shocked. I hope you're not. But I have had a lot of students tell me that they've gone and gotten the black light, and they were mortified to find out how many accidents were actually happening. I had gone into a home for a private lesson, and I had to break the news to the woman. I was like, ma'am, it smells a little strong in here. And she's like, oh, really? Because she had been so used to it. And I was like, yeah, let's get a black light. So she did in the time from first lesson to second lesson. Came back to second lesson, and she was just like, I can't even believe what I found. This is really bad. She ended up having to pull out all the carpet. She had a carpet cleaning company come, and the amount of accidents that were in this place was not fixable. Mm-hmm. So she had to pull out the carpet and change the padding and put a cleaner material, a cleaning agent down on the subfloor, seal it, and then they could put some new carpet on top. So,
and this can be hard if you're moving into a place that maybe somebody else has lived there before, and maybe their dog had some accidents. It can be hard sometimes, but if you know what you're working with by using that black light, then you can both block off the access, try to clean it really well, and just be more vigilant, about the possibility. I also just wanted to take this question. Let's see, where did it go? Sunny is asking, can dogs go potty on fake grass, or would it rot or smell bad?
Yeah, good question. And I see some other supporters in the chat helping out. So ideally, we would prefer or recommend that you use a real grass patch, because the fake ones, they can get really smelly, and unless you use the right product for that, it can get pretty bad. And then the other thing too is we really want to create as much of a natural place for our dogs to go as possible, so that when you are out walking, they feel comfortable. They can go there. They won't have to feel like they have to hold it till you get back to that only thing they've been comfortable with. So, which might be that fake grass. That can happen. We've had several people come to us that they're like, my dog won't go to the bathroom outside on walks. And when we ask the questions, we realize that they have been using a fake grass patch. So, I mean, if that's all you can get, that's fine. But if you can try to work towards getting your pup out and on real grass, that would be ideal.
And, I do want to say, we got lots of fake grass here in Arizona. Not all artificial turf is created the same. And so you will find some that are a better quality for pets and some that don't work so well. Some that become just 100% plastic. They get very, very hot. It doesn't drain. It's very kind of prickly on the pup's feet. And then there's other kinds that they do, kind of recommend more for pets. It's a lot softer. It has draining capability. You put it on top of dirt, and so you can wash it down and it kind of, the dirt can absorb it. So not all turf is created equal. And you might, if you really have to use some kind of fake grass, you have to kind of do some research into what's the best kind that will allow that, drainage, and that you can clean it and that it does not get too hot.
Yeah. There's some boarding facilities that they have special grass that it's fake, but it's antimicrobial. There's actually a special cleaner and a special machine that they use to agitate it as they sanitize it and clean it and neutralize all that smell. So I would say if you're going to like your local home improvement store and getting the green carpet material, that's not recommended. Definitely not recommended.
Yeah. When Lincoln and I take a walk in the neighborhood, there's one house pretty close by that has artificial grass in the front. Of course, it looks beautiful all the time. And I don't know what it is about it. Lincoln loves it. He loves to roll on it. He's always like rubbing his mouth on it. I don't think he's ever gone potty on it, but it's just interesting that he thinks the texture is very appealing. And other times he's found it where he's like this.
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, that's right. He's kind of funny about going potty outside. He's very particular about where he goes and what surface he goes on.
Yeah, we've tried a lot of different things, but the next slide that you're going to talk about is our number one. Like, this is what we had to do to make it work for us, because Lincoln was not always a fan of going out.
Are you talking about the routine one?
Yes, this is my favorite.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we were talking to you guys just a little bit ago about, what are you using to keep track of things? What are you using to write it down? Bullet journals and notebooks and our sample schedule. Or if you're at pro level, you have access to the pro level workbook that has a blank sheet in it to use. So the key to this is routine. Part of potty training is sticking to a good schedule and routine. One thing to note, though, if you bring home a brand new puppy and you're expecting them to hold it for a really long time, or you're going to work all day and you're not going to be able to get home, your puppy can really only hold their bladder for about 1 hour per month of age while they're in a confined space. So anything like even a puppy pen or a gated off room, it's not likely that your puppy could hold it that long, because the space is bigger, which means more movement, which means more processing. And that's going to need, they're going to need more frequent potty trips outside. So that general rule of about 1 hour per month of age, how long they can hold it, is really only applicable to when our pups are, let's say, in the crate. So keep that in mind. And if you're expecting your puppy to hold it any longer, that's kind of detrimental to their health and wellness. They could get infections trying to make them hold it longer than they could. So
I scrolled up and found this question from Sunny, which is kind of what we're talking about now. Is it normal if after my puppy plays with another dog, he'll go to the toilet right after? And that's kind of what we're talking about here. More activity means more potty breaks, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because we have movement, excitement, potentially even if it was a new dog, we might have some anxiousness. And I don't know about you, but if you've ever had to give a speech in front of a whole group of people, isn't it the thing where you just get ready to step on stage or just get ready to open your mouth and you're like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. I already went to the bathroom, but now I have to go again. That's just your system, their natural reaction. So in this particular case, same thing applies. They're playing, they're excited and or anxious. They're going to need to go more frequently. So,
this is also not just for puppies. I'm sure you see it as well, Michele, where we have a certain kind of time of day where Lincoln is most active. He really wants to play after dinner. He's just ready. He's ready to play. This is when we usually do all of our fun stuff. And he goes out probably 3 or 4 times during this 2-hour session. Whereas at the other parts of the day, like now when he's finally taking a nap, we're probably looking at 5 or 6 hours in between, maybe more. Yeah. So it really, even as they get older, depending on their activity level, it can really change how often they have to go. And that's why keeping a log is so helpful, because your dog will have specific kind of tendencies, unique patterns. And once you pick up on those, you'll be able to prepare yourself better.
Yeah, I would say too, we tend to know, like you said, you tend to notice there are certain times of the day when they need to go more frequently, or need more, right? So that also tends to be like late afternoon into the evening hour. You're likely going to see that. Most of the time they are more restful, or they're resting during the day, a little more active in the afternoon, evening hour. Partially because that's probably when you're coming home, or kids are coming home from school, or there might be more activity in the neighborhood. They kind of feed off of that vibe that's going on. So they are more active. And then also because they were resting, they have now, recharged their batteries. So they're ready to go. They need an outlet to kind of get rid of pent up energy. So again, more activity means need to go more frequently outside.
What's that fancy word we use? What to describe the dogs are more? What is it?
Crepuscular.
I don't know that I can spell that. That's a great one. What, that they're just naturally more active at dawn and dusk?
Yes.
Right? More kind of quiet and resting in the middle of the day.
Yeah. You're right. We have a lot of students that's where we help them the most with the putting together a schedule, is that late afternoon, evening. Because a lot happens during that time, or a lot should happen during that time, to help ease into the evening, bedtime hour, and also middle of the night. So if you guys, by the way, this is just a, heads up. It's very normal, very natural to still have to take your puppy out several times in the middle of the night, all the way up to about sometimes 4 months, sometimes 6 months. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, because some of you are like, I just want a good night's sleep. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. I promise you, it does get better. It's just going to take a little bit of time for your pup's brain and bladder to mature and grow and kind of learn to sync together.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Let's finish this slide on routine. And then there's just so many good questions in the chat. I want to make sure we have time to get to those.
Absolutely.
So anything more you want to mention on the routine? We talked about keeping a log. Oh, can I tell my story about meal times?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. This was what kind of I was saying about your pup is going to have unique habits that once you start to notice these patterns, you're like, okay, this is what we've got going on in our household. Might be different with another dog or another household. When Lincoln was young, he would eat, and literally he would eat his food, and then he would pick up his head and go potty. Like right then. And we were like, oh, another accident. Oh, and so we started to notice that it was just so quick after he ate. And so we would then take turns. We're like, who's on duty? And literally he would be eating over here. And my husband didn't want to crowd him while I was eating, didn't want to bother him. So he'd be like this, kind of watching over him. And the minute Lincoln kind of looked up from his food, like, I think I'm all done eating, we're like, time to go potty. And we'd get him out to go potty really quick. Once we started noticing that was his pattern, and we started preventing that accident from happening, that's when things really started taking hold. But that was his unique pattern that not everybody will have. But when you figure it out, it's the clue that can usually turn things around.
Yeah, we had a puppy training with Michele, Lennon Facebook group member asked the other day about that. They were like, oh, how long after my puppy eats should I take them out? And I'm like, oh, this is a great question. It's not cookie cutter though, because I remembered back to when you were telling me about Lincoln, and I'm like, oh, Lincoln, he needed like 1.5 seconds and he needed to go out, where other puppies need about 5 to 10 minutes, the food getting into their system, it starts to kind of process a little bit, and then they're like, oh, okay, need to go out. Yeah. So this is why it is so important to pay attention to your pups, keep track of what's happening and when, and then you will really start to see that pattern.
Yeah. All right, are you ready for a question?
Sure. Yeah, I think we have, I think just real quick here, I just had a couple more things I wanted to mention. For those of you guys that are, because I think it was Belle, she was talking about the puppy packet, and a couple of others were talking about some other lessons and things. Inside our free new puppy starter kit, that's right, it's free. It's super important. We want you to have all of what you need. Inside that lesson, there are 4 videos that we have specifically for brand new puppy owners to help kind of get you on the right track. We have a sample schedule. We have a potty log that you can use to kind of like a sample one to kind of keep things on track. If things aren't going well, there's a troubleshooting video. We're going to talk about the bell training in a moment. So if you guys are using bells, or you want to learn how to use the bells, or you have no idea what I'm talking about, hang tight. We're going to get there. It's a great way to let your puppy know how to signal to you when they need to go out. Mm-hmm. All of that can be found in the New Puppy Starter Kit, and you can find that right on our website at howtotrainadreamdog.com. With that said, well, let's hop over here. You want to do this, or did you say you had a question you wanted me to answer first?
Well, let's take this one while we're talking about bells. Claudia was asking that she's trained her pup to ring a bell, but his sister doesn't show any interest to learn. Maybe sounds like there's litter mates here, Claudia.
Oh, possibly. Yeah. And that could be just in the learning style. Like each puppy could learn very differently, especially even if they all came from the same litter. It's just like siblings. Everybody has different personalities and learning styles. So it might just be how it's being introduced. It could be the puppy is a little afraid of the sound of the bells. It could be that they require a different kind of bell. So instead of the hanging bells, maybe the courtesy desk bell, or even the push button bell that either talks or makes a noise. That's a possibility as well. So there could be a variety of things going on as to why she's not showing any interest in them. I would say to troubleshoot this more, I need to know more about what's happening.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes we think that the pups are going to catch on a little faster than they do. I mean, it really can take, hundreds of repetitions of associating the bells with going potty before they're like, oh, I think I get it. And that just seems like we've been doing it forever, but to the pup, they're just finally getting it. So it could also be a timing thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about this one? We haven't talked about pee pads very much. This one, 4.5-month old and still using pee pads and having accidents. And she said that we have a doggy door. They go out 90%, but that 10% is tough.
Okay. Yeah, this is good. Inside, so we were going to talk about apartment dwellers. In that portion of it, we talk about alternatives to pee pads. And what we really recommend is the fresh patch. That's this, instead of using pads, what we were talking about before is the more real we can make the experience going on real grass, the better. The thing with pee pads in the home is that it's like a big bullseye that says go in the house. And unfortunately, what happens is after a couple of, sometimes a couple of weeks and even sometimes a couple of months of using them, not only does the habit become stronger, the more they have access to them, but then they start going off of them and going in other places of the home. And then they start to become a chew toy as well, or just a chew thing. And then they could ingest that. And I have experienced, unfortunately, when I worked at the vet's office, lots of blockages of things, including pee pad material. So I would say we want to hold off. We want to discourage the use of the pee pads. We want to take them out more frequently. And then the doggy door scenario here. This is. We don't love doggy doors for safety reasons. Your puppy could go out there and get into things that you don't know about. You miss opportunities to see what they've done or when they've done it, so you don't actually know if they're going. And then other critters could come in your house through the doggy door. Remember we were talking a few moments ago about the health and wellness of your dog? Believe it or not, I know it sounds silly, but you can actually tell the health of a dog based on stool or based on their poop. So if you don't see them go, you don't see what's happening. They go out the doggy door, they go have, maybe some diarrhea. You don't see it. You don't know then that they might be ill. So we would recommend that you don't use a doggy door for all those reasons and instead going out with them. I understand it could be so much more convenient, right? Sometimes it seems like it's so much more convenient, but in a situation like this where we have a little bit older of a pup, 4.5 months, and then you're still having some accidents inside, it's likely because we have the confusion of where to go, especially if the pee pad is down. And then we're not getting any reinforcement for going outside when they go out that doggy door. So remember what we were talking about at the beginning, we want to reinforce for all the behaviors we want to see more of, which includes going potty outside. So if we can get on a sequence of taking them out, reinforcing for going, we can definitely get this continual accidents inside cleared up a little faster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We've got a question here from Christopher. It's kind of a two-parter. So he's got a 12-week-old pup, and a female comes over and they have a little play session, and then that 12-week-old pup will go inside for a day or two after without his kind of normal signals. What do you think's going on there?
Let's see. What was the first part of that? How old was the puppy?
The puppy, Christopher's puppy, is 12 weeks old and plays with an adult puppy who comes over, or adult dog.
Okay. So to me, this sounds a little bit more like the dog is getting to a point of overstimulation. Well, kind of a combo. They're excited, they're overstimulated, then they're getting really drained and tired, which then the brain isn't really sending the right signals to the bladder to say, hold it, or signal sooner that we need to go out. With our younger pups, unfortunately, it's like little kids who are learning to potty train. They tend to recognize the signal a little too late. And so them trying to tell you they need to go, you only literally have a split second. And by the time you go get your shoes and your coat or the leash or whatnot, they've probably already had the accident because they unfortunately signaled to you a little too late. And that's just, again, the brain and the bladder trying to work and sync together. But since you seem to notice the pattern there of the playmate comes over, you're noticing an accident or two a day or so after, I would say that's pretty common for, a pup that may have played a little too long and or might not have been taken out as frequently. But then also our dogs kind of go through like a decompression, or at least they need to go through like a decompression after they've had like an exciting or scary or eventful thing that happens to them. So you usually see within the next 1 to 3 days afterwards some sort of maybe regression in this case. I mean, to me, it's not necessary. I would call a 6-month-old puppy who's still having accidents in a situation like this a regression. Whereas with our 12-week-old puppy, we're still working on potty training. We're still really teaching how to, get them to signal to us, and then also reinforcing for going outside. So
Christopher, I also just want to let you know we have a really good video on puppy playmates, puppy play dates, things like that. And it's surprising how short they kind of are or should be in order to kind of be the best scenario for the dog. Sometimes you're like, this is great, we're going to play all day. And then we might see something like this. So take a look at that video. Maybe our moderator here, Caitlin, can post it for you. That might help you also kind of watch for, this play date might be going on a little too long.
Yeah. For a 12-week-old puppy, we're talking like maybe 5 to 10 minutes at a time. Yeah.
What about this one, Michele? Belle asks about bringing a puppy into a house where a dog lived previously. That she used to have a dog for 12 years. She didn't have very many accidents, did have some vomiting, and Belle is now going to bring home her new puppy.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I send hugs your way. Okay, so we have a new puppy who's entering in the home. We had another dog that lived there previously. Honestly, a good deep clean if you can, especially if there were a lot of accidents from the older dog, which sometimes we start to see that as they age. And just, kind of lose those abilities to hold things longer. Because you're going to kind of go through the process of reward, restrict, clean, and routine, you're going to kind of follow those 4 fundamentals. Puppy isn't going to have full access to everything, which means you'll have time to kind of be working on cleaning up any other areas where the other dog might have been to keep your pup away from those areas right now. I would say too, let's see, a few accidents, did have vomiting issues. Okay. I'm not as concerned. With the vomiting issues, I'm more concerned with like the previous accidents. If they were on carpeted areas, we may have to block off access to that. Again, really getting a professional cleaning in there. I think you were the one that asked about using the little Bissell clean machine. That might be helpful. If you're finding though, over time, your new puppy is going to those same spots where the accidents were previously, we're probably going to have to, again, block off that access and have a professional service come in.
Michelle, this is slightly off topic, but do you think it's okay to use the same like crate for the new puppy if the older puppy had one that maybe fits the new puppy? If you clean it really well, would it be okay to reuse that?
Yeah, great question. I definitely recommend that you clean that as best as possible to kind of get that scent of the other dog off there. It could be stressful for a new puppy to go into a crate where another dog, a lot of strong smell of the other dog was, especially if they don't know them. It'd kind of be like putting you in an elevator with somebody who has a lot of perfume on and they're a stranger. And you're like, oh, this is a lot. This is overwhelming. So that could be the case for putting a new puppy in a used crate. So definitely clean it up. And then especially since the other dog, maybe had accidents in there or was sick in there, we want to make sure that's well cleaned for any, sickness or whatnot that could be picked up.
Okay. So we've got another two-part question I'm kind of seeing in the comments, which is helpful because a lot of these questions, we kind of need some more information. We'll do the best we can, but it is helpful to get a little more information. So Blessed with Pets was asking about puppies sleeping in the bed, but here's a little extra tip that might give you some more indication of what's going on, Michele. The thing is, if my puppy's in bed, she makes it all night, but if she's in her kennel, she pees all over herself, even if I take her out every hour or so. So this is a couple of clues that tell us there's something different going on, right?
Yeah. So we could have a variety of things with the size of the crate, the location of the crate, how warm or cold it is near, where the crate is located, which could be when you're putting your puppy in the crate at night, that's causing some stress and anxiety, and your pup is, getting to a point where they can't hold it any longer. We actually just had over at Pro Level, we had a student who was describing a very similar situation. And then when we asked where the crate was, it was in the laundry room. And while that for most people would be just fine, we actually found out that the laundry detergent and then the machine noise was causing the pup a lot of stress and anxiety. And that's why they weren't doing well in their crate in that room. So it could be something similar here where we have something going on that's leading to the pup to be stressed or anxious while in that crate, and they're not able to get a good restful night's sleep. They're getting so anxious that they're working themselves up and then having those accidents. Mm-hmm. It could be that the space is too big as well. So it's not cozy enough. And then another thing that came to mind too was the kind of crate. So if we're using a metal crate and the pup is just not digging it, they're not loving this metal crate, it's for whatever reason, scary, noisy, nails on the pan of it or the tray of it, or causing some stress or anxiety, we might have to switch up the crate. We might have to go to a smaller plastic one. And I know some people are kind of like, oh, cheapers, that means I'm going to have to buy a new crate every time the puppy, grows in size. And yes, but that might mean that your pup's more comfortable and can settle in the crate better.
Mm-hmm. I think Blessed with Pets also asked a little bit later in the chat about when do their bladders strengthen? And the crate has a lot to do with that, helping them learn to hold it just a little bit longer, not past what they can, not past what's comfortable, but just getting in the habit of, oh, I'm just going to wait until my mom takes me out to that spot where, I'm kind of used to going. So that's a big piece of this too. It's like a big puzzle.
Yeah. Like we were saying earlier, it's usually closer to that 6 month mark where we start to really see things syncing up, the brain, the bladder muscles holding things in a little bit longer because they're stronger at that point. So anybody that's expecting their brand new puppies at about 8, 10, 12 weeks to be potty trained, let's lower the expectations just a little bit. And then, we always say raise your patience and lower expectations because we have a little ways to go for everything to really be fully developed. Allison, before we take any more questions, did you want to just kind of let me go over the common mistakes? Because some of these questions here are related to some of the stuff we're talking about.
Yeah.
Just real quick, for anybody we were talking about the bells a moment ago, inside the new puppy starter kit is the lesson on bell training. And this is, again, a great way to teach your puppies to signal to you when they need to go. So definitely watch that video. There are 3 steps. We highly recommend you go slow with each one of them. But let's talk about these common mistakes for just a moment. So on our list, first and foremost, we were saying, avoid using pee pads. That's a common mistake. You get a new puppy, you want to use pee pads. Get those things out of there. We want to get him on a good schedule of going potty outside if you can, or even using a fresh patch. Punishing. If your puppy has an accident, we do not want to punish them. It was an accident. It was just that. I can promise you that your puppy does not pee out of spite. That is not actually a thing that puppies do. They would have to have a very complex brain and thought process to think through doing something against you to purposely upset you, which means they would have to know what they were supposed to do instead and deliberately do it the opposite. So they are not that complex. If your puppy does have an accident, we do not want to scold them. We don't want to take them back over and tell them how naughty they were. They were naughty because it was the natural behavior. All creatures have to go. So if they went, it's because they absolutely had to. So the old school, take your puppy over and show it to them, that is discouraged. We definitely don't want to create a negative association with going to the bathroom, because if you do that, they're likely then going to want to sneak away. They're going to want to go somewhere else away from you and try to go, because obviously going in front of you must be really bad. Your presence is scary. It doesn't teach them. You yelling at them does not teach them where they should go instead. So this is why, if you have an accident, you're going to go, oops, owner error. I missed it. I missed the signal. I missed the schedule. I waited a little too long. You're going to take them out, have them go potty outside again if they need to finish, bring them back in. Maybe they go back in the crate or their pen while you're cleaning up so they're not getting into it and chewing on paper towel and stuff like that. So you trying to punish them is not going to work. It's just going to create a negative relationship. Trust is going to be broken between the two of you. Bedding in the crate. This is where, we always discourage bedding in the crate while they're puppies. And some of you are like, but Michele, you're so mean for not letting my puppy have any bedding in there. This is for their safety, because they might start to chew on it and ingest it, number one. Number two, soft, squishy surfaces are very inviting for puppies. So they're going to want to potentially pee on that. And then they start to learn to go potty in the crate. We don't want to set that up. We want to set them up for success. So I can assure you that your puppy will be just fine sleeping on the crate, on the floor of the crate. They sleep on the floor of your home in a nice cool tile floor or the linoleum or something like that, just fine. Down the road, when our puppy can be trusted, then we're going to add the crate. Pickles, you see Pickles over here, he's sleeping in his bed. He was 3 years old before he finally was able to have a bed in his crate. So it took some time. We're not saying no forever. We're just saying no for right now. Mm-hmm. Distractions outside. So if you're taking them out and they're just like birds and squirrels and leaves, oh my, we might want to use a puppy pen out there. So it's just, I recommend like the black metal puppy pen, take that out there, put it in the yard, maybe having them go in there to stay a little more focused and on track. We have another mistake is not using a leash. So you take your puppy outside to go potty, you give them just free roam of that whole backyard. They're getting so distracted that one, you don't actually see when they're going, and two, #distraction. Then they come back inside and then they have the accident on the floor. So if you take them out on a leash, you have more of a chance of keeping them on track, staying close to you focusing when they're going out there. I want to briefly mention that you might have a double peer on your hands. That means your pup just naturally needs to go twice to finish and empty out. I had a dog like that, a rescue dog. Her name is Maggie. Would Lincoln's like that too?
Yeah. And what we noticed was that we had to kind of do this dance where after he did the first time, we kind of pretended not to see him. And so we didn't offer the reward right then. And then he did it again. And then we're like, oh, good boy. So it was kind of our way of encouraging him to try a little bit more. And we only did that because we knew that was his pattern, that he would go potty, and then he would come in and he would have an accident. So we're like, okay, this is a double thing going on. We need to encourage him to keep going. And I think he was getting kind of distracted mid-pee, like, oh, okay, I'm all done. And we're like, oh, but are you? I also have to tell you, I was a little bit extra. I would count the seconds that it took for him to go. And I got to be pretty good at knowing when he had fully emptied his bladder based on when he went before. Like, any of you who have nursed babies, have you ever had it where like you weigh the baby before you nurse them and then you weigh the baby after, and then that's how you know how much milk they got? That was me with Lincoln, although I just counted the seconds. So you have to become a problem solver, a puppy detective, to get all of those clues to figure out, how do I prevent an accident? And that was one way that we did it.
It's these little things that you learn along the way, right? You know, some of you wouldn't have known that your dog was a double peer. You just think, I take them out, they go, I come inside, they have an accident again. What's going on there? Well, stay out there just a little bit longer, and you may discover that they are that double peer, and that you need to stay out there for that second round, or even third for some. Very rare, but for some, it's that they go 3 times. I have, Allison, I have one more slide that I just want to go over, and then we're going to just dive into some more questions, if that's okay.
All right. We only have a couple more. So
Okay.
Go ahead and do one more slide, and then I just want to make sure we get Amber's question taken care of.
Okay, perfect. Very good. All right. So when you're working on potty training your puppy, obviously we mentioned their brains and bladders just need time to work and sync together. You know, closer to 6 months is about when, you know, things finally fully mature and develop. When you teach your puppy something, anything, including taking them out to go potty or teaching them to go potty outside, it's actually going to take hundreds of repetitions. It's 1 or 2 reps, and if you're expecting they're going to be perfect at it, it's not going to happen. So lots of repetitions of doing the right thing and getting lots of reinforcement in the right place is going to be what really teaches them what to do and where to do it. Preventing the accidents from happening is a lot of work, because you're, blocking off space, you're taking things up, you're taking them out, before they might need to go, so that you can prevent the accident from happening. It takes time to learn that schedule, like we said, or that pattern. Sometimes, though, keep in mind, this is part of the expectations, your pup still may have accidents throughout that first year and beyond. And the reason being, lots of growth and development happening within that first year. Your puppy might get spayed or neutered during that first 6 to 8 months or 12 months, somewhere in there. That means hormones are changing. Anytime we have hormones changing in the body, we are likely to see a change in bathroom habits. In addition to when they first come home, when they first come home after being spayed or neutered, we have medications coming, trying to get, pass out of their body. So in that case, it changes their bathroom habits as well. So any medications they got at the vet's, pain meds, they had an IV that was pushing fluids through, they might likely need to go more frequently as well. We have several videos on our YouTube channel that talk about potty training and managing the space and preparing and what to expect. So definitely peruse the other videos that we have. Check out the playlists on potty training and or other topics you want to look at. There's one on, like we said, the space, managing the space so that we can decrease accidents. That one could be really helpful. Just last but not least, we already talked about the new puppy starter kit in the channel. If anybody else is experiencing any other unwanted behaviors besides accidents in the home, you might want to take a peek at the Better Puppy Behavior Workshop. That's a really good use of a good, valuable hour of information that will really help you learn why your dog is doing the thing they're doing, how their brain is working, that kind of thing. Many of you guys watching with us today are already enrolled in our 30-day to puppy perfection program. If you're not, that's available too if you want to learn more about training your puppy, how to do it.
So many options.
Yeah.
I wanted to thank Tangela for the super stickers. So nice of you.
That's
that master picture there. Tangela is one of our pro level students who is here's the thing about some of our pro level students, about so many of them that we love, is they are information junkies. They have questions of their own. They want to know why their dog does this or how to help their dog do this, but they want to know everything. So they tune in to all of our Zoom calls, to the lives like this, and they are just soaking up anything that they might not realize that they needed to know. And I just am so impressed with them. They really want to dig in. And if you can, things like the Better Puppy Behavior Workshop, that's going to give you like, oh, I didn't know that. That's such good stuff if you're really seeking like good information on canine education and development and training. You are going to love it.
Yeah. I saw Simone on here too. Hello, Simone.
Yes. Simone is on here too. All right. So before we leave, I just want to make sure we get Amber's question answered. So she has an 8-week-old puppy, a Doberman, and she just wants to know, is it normal? Sounds like he's going out every 10 to 15 minutes during the day. I'm assuming he's gotten some naps in there.
How old did you say he was again? I'm sorry.
8 weeks.
He's 8 weeks. Oh yeah. I found that when Feta was here, she was at foster, again, about 8 to 9 weeks old. We found that when she was awake, even in the puppy pen, we were having to take her out about every 15 minutes. So I was actually setting my alarm on, vibrate so she wouldn't hear it, but so that I would be aware to remember to take her out, because it is that frequently that we're taking them out. You get so busy doing something, cooking dinner, working on an email, maybe you work from home and you just kind of get caught up in something, and next thing you know, it's 20 and 30 minutes later and you look over and you're like, darn it, here's an accident. So it is very common for our brand new pups to have to go almost anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes, somewhere in there, that frequent when they're awake.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Michele, what are we talking about next week? We're going to go live again next week at this time. What are we talking about?
Is next week crate training?
I think it is. I think it is, which is a really good one to follow, potty training, because like we mentioned, there is a connection of using the crate, not just for safety, but helping the puppy relax, helping the puppy hold their bladder a little bit more, helping the puppy nap, which helps them grow developmentally in their brains. Their brains are doing so much at that point of changing and learning. They have to nap in order to process all of the new stuff that they're learning. So, just like when you're sleep deprived, you're like, I am not learning algebra at this point.
No.
Puppies need rest in order to learn all the things that we're trying to teach them. So the crate is going to be key to that. So we hope you guys will tune in next week and we'll tell you all about it.
Awesome. Can't wait to see you guys. Can't wait to see you again. Also, Allison, for the rest of you guys, I hope you have a blessed rest of your day. Enjoy puppy training. Let us know how we can help you. And we'll see you on the next live. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.